Hello, my name is Tucker Johnson, and I am your host today as we experience Nimdzi Live, where we talk about the latest and greatest in translation, localization, internationalization, culturalization, and all that fun stuff global companies need to delight their international customers. On this program, we invite guests who like to have fun and have some value to add for our audience of globalization professionals. I'm always eager to provide a platform to those with a good story or a good data set. So let us know if there are any topics you'd like covered or guests we should reach out to for future episodes. And if you haven't already done so, make sure that you are following Nimdzi Insights on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X. All of the platforms. You can also find all of our archived Nimdzi Live episodes, as well as a whole bunch of free resources like workshops and stuff like that over on the Nimdzi Insights YouTube channel. So make sure that you are checking that out. Heck, I even think we have a Twitch channel, to be honest, but you don't need to follow that one. Today's topic, we are diving into one of the biggest friction points in localization. Developer bottlenecks, hard-coded strings, manual cleanup, overloaded engineering teams. These delays slow down global launches and leave localization teams waiting on code to be ready. But what if you could bypass that bottleneck entirely? Joining me today is Alex Bitt, CEO and co-founder of Codemod, a Silicon Valley company pioneering AI-powered code automation. Before starting Codemod, Alex spent 6 years at Meta building automation platforms that supported over 70 engineering teams across more than 40 markets. Now at Codemod, his team helps enterprises de-risk and automate code maintenance projects, from package upgrades to refactors, and internationalization readiness, so companies can scale to new markets faster and at lower cost. In this session, we are going to explore how Codemod's approach to automation is solving real-world internationalization challenges, what that means for localization managers and engineering leaders, and how global businesses can streamline workflows, reduce engineering overhead, and accelerate time to market. Alex, welcome to the show. Again, we tried to do this last week and my internet cut out right in minute number 3 of the episode. So thank you for your patience and thank you for coming back, because I was really looking forward to talking to you.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, I gave the intro, talked a little bit about Codemod. This is like the second episode in a row here where I'm talking about internationalization. It seems to be a topic that keeps coming up more and more in this new age of AI. And I was having a conversation last week with someone, or earlier this week maybe, and talking about, really, for localization managers, the lines are getting blurred as far as the realm of responsibility. Localization managers are finding themselves dealing with more stuff, including internationalization and direct code. And we're kind of being forced to get more involved with the upstream process internally. But before we get into all of that, though, just lay the groundwork for me here. Your background, why Codemod? Why did you develop this? Why did you make it open source? Who is it for? And what can it be used for?
Sure. So, the story starts when, at you I did electrical and computer engineering as my background, and one night I told myself, forget about what other people say and what is your, your future job. What is it that you're really passionate about? And I was an undergrad and I searched about taming complex systems, and I realized there's a field of study called system engineering. So for graduate school, I did system engineering operation research, which is a field of study about modeling, taming, simulation, and optimization of complex systems. And so about 10 years ago, my wife and I moved from DC area to California, and I started working at Facebook. And over there, I got exposed to complex software systems. And we were building tools for engineering teams, in fact, 70 plus engineering teams. And I was exposed to the challenges and also some of the cutting edge solutions that we developed over the years internally to automate the chores for engineers, so we can ship things fast at scale, at giga scale. So that was the time that I got really obsessed about building tools to uh, to automate the toil for engineering teams, because code runs the world, and if you can make an impact in this space, it's going to be really impactful in all aspects of human life. So when I left Facebook to pursue my dreams and starting my own company, I knew that this space is mine. I'm going to build and iterate with open mind until I can make something happen, hopefully. So at the beginning, it was not Codemod. I wanted to solve the problem of code comprehension to
Okay.
help users understand how things work. Think of it as a Google map for code, where developers can look at their code at different levels of abstractions from different perspectives to understand how things work. But then later on, I decided to pivot to another idea, software modularization, untangling this code. And then I worked on some projects for machine learning based program repair and bug fix.
Okay.
But again, I realized that that is not a good time, but it was about the time that LLMs were becoming better and better.
Mhm.
And one of my colleagues told me, wouldn't it be cool when a developer ships a new feature? There was this bot that could repair the program for all the folks who are depending on this old feature. So this bot can automatically bring them up to speed so they can use a new feature. And that reminded me of the Codemod that we had at Facebook.
Okay.
Codemod is just like a bot that is good at doing one thing really well at scale. Uh, so it's like, interesting. Let's dive in. And then dived into that idea, and I realized that top framework builders are building these bots so they can help their users adopt the latest features and breaking changes and new features that they can adopt. But I noticed that there's no community around it. There are no toolings, there are no analytics, there's no infrastructure.
It's the
Many of
Wild West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Everyone's kind
and
of doing their own thing.
yeah, and the reason is that, this is a really hard space. It requires knowledge, advanced knowledge of computer science and compiler technologies. It's really hard to build code mods,
Hmm.
at least at that time. So we're changing that. And sure, Facebook and Google's of the world, they had the luxury of hiring compiler specialists, talents who can handle these bots, but not average developers.
Right. I
So,
mean, and as with a lot of new technologies, is like the big guys have access to it because they have the
yeah.
budget and the resources, and they can build it out and hire the world's smartest people to work on it. But only after the big guys have had access for years, usually, is when it becomes more accessible and more mainstream. And
So,
that's what that as I was reading through all of the information I could find about Codemod, that's what I'm realizing. And it was a decision to make it open source, right?
yeah.
To make it accessible, to make it relevant to
Yeah,
more than just the big guys out there.
totally.
And
I can add, yeah, just wanted to add that this term code mod was coined by Facebook a couple of years ago, stems from code modifications like a script. So it's a program, and that programmatically changes things in the code. It can detect and change things in the code. And it's an open source concept. And so Codemod with capital C, this is our company. We
okay,
want to
okay.
democratize access to this technology with the same brand that people love and know about. And Codemod as a concept is an open source
I
technology
see.
that it gives superpower to engineering teams. So we hope that we can spread the word, whether engineers use our product or not. We hope that they can learn about this technology and automate the toilsome part of the coding.
Understood. Understood. Okay, so we talked about we talked about the Googles and Metas and the big companies that obviously have a need. They're already using it, right?
Mhm.
We have a lot of localization
Yeah.
folks, and I know you're not your background. You haven't spent 20 years in the localization industry,
Yeah.
like I have, like a lot of the listeners have. So, why is this relevant? Why do local? And I know my answer, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Why do localization managers need to care about this? Why should they care about code? Why should they care about internationalization? All of this
So
stuff. Why is it relevant for them? And if you want to share anything, I know you have screenshots and decks and everything. Just let me know. No pressure. I'm just letting
sure.
you know.
Yeah, for sure. So let me first tell you about, why localization and how did we get into localization. So my co-founder and CTO, Mo, is an expert in Codemod technology, and he built similar solutions at Brex and Shopify. He worked on the internationalization project at Brex. And with the automations and code mods he built, he saved months of engineering time for the company. So we knew that we have a unique capability, and that could be a great wedge or starting point for us to introduce our technology to the world. We could build pro code mods, very sophisticated code mods to handle internationalization projects. And that's what we started with. And it has worked really well for us. We have great companies as our customers. We saved months of engineering time for our existing customer, and we have some case studies that we can talk about. And yeah, so uh, I was listening to some of your awesome podcasts before, where you talked, I think, with Mariana about some of the articles.
I want to say Marina Pancheva,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
right?
Sorry.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
Marinas. There's a lot of Marianas out there,
yeah,
and I've
sorry.
talked to half of them.
Yeah,
I feel like, but yeah.
yeah. So the concept that the language and terminology of developers are different from linguists and LSPs, and it's normal. But now the technology is becoming more and more involved in the localization process. It is more important than ever to bridge the gap, the communication gap.
Hmm.
So we want to, on the one hand, reduce the dependency of localization managers on engineering teams
Mm-hmm.
for majority of the cases. For 80% of the questions that might ask that, hey, what are some of the um, different syntaxes that you're using, or different placeholders, how many hard-coded strings do we have in our app? Which teams are falling behind? If we are saying that, hey, this is the launch date, and often I hear that localization managers are added towards the end of the project,
Right.
where when it's too late to solve the engineering issues hidden in the code. Wouldn't it be great if they could have insights from day one to understand what is going on with this? Are we the launch date, is it at risk?
Right.
This type of stuff that we want to help with local
Well,
managers.
and it's stuff that will allow localization managers to be adding value to the product teams, the dev teams, the code geeks out there, right? Rather than just seeing them as a source of content and being treated like that last checkbox in the
Yeah,
process, they can actually take a look and start adding value because they those engineering teams often they don't know, they don't know what they don't know, and if there's going to be bugs or issues that come up with the code that don't come up until it's time for localization, then they need to know about it earlier rather than later. And with access to a tool like this, localization managers can start I don't want to say encroaching, they can start adding value upstream in the process. And
yeah,
here's kind of how I look at it if I were talking to a localization manager who's asking me, why should I care about this? It's not my job. This is great. It's a great method, tool, solution for the engineering teams, but it doesn't fall under the purview of localization. I would say it would behoove us as localization managers to learn more about internationalization and code or content creation, whatever it is that's upstream from the localization process, it would behoove us to learn more about that before those teams decide to start learning more about localization, right? Because things are merging. The lines are getting fuzzier between different departments thanks to
Absolutely.
a lot of the new solutions that are out there.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn how to add value to those engineering teams, then a time's going to come when those engineering teams are going to say, hey, with the technology that's available out there today, what do we need a localization team for? They're going to
Mhm.
automate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, in my point of view, not correct because they cannot speak to their language properly,
It's
you
not
know.
great. I agree, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the engineering teams don't know that,
Exactly.
right?
So,
So, I mean,
yeah.
I talk to teams all the time. It's like, well, we're just going to use machine translation for this because it works. It's like, oh, that's not great, but they don't know that it's not great. And then you have to go into this whole. It puts you on defense as a
Yeah.
localization professional,
Yeah.
and you find yourself having to defend the work that you're doing. Like, no, this is why I'm so important. If I
Yeah.
have to have a PowerPoint presentation to explain to people why I'm important, I'm
Mhm.
probably not that important,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's the whole purpose of what we do for localization managers. If interested, I would be happy to tell you, for example, what is Codemod in more detail and some of the use cases and some of the questions that our technology can answer.
Yeah, I think that would help. Let's take a look. I'll bring your screen up and you can
Sure.
walk us through it, whatever you want, whether you want to show
Hmm.
decks or product, whatever.
Yeah,
Let's just bring it up,
sure.
okay?
So first, if you share my screen, you will see here, this is our Codemod Studio, which is an AI-powered workbench. It's similar to Copilot, where you can ask for something. You can wish either for detecting a pattern in the code, or you can even wish for some changes in the code. Um, the audience for this tool are engineers, right? But the point is that we're making it easy to build rules and code mods that can do certain things really well. And in this context, we were asking, for example, find hard-coded strings in my code. And here, what you see highlighted here is the script or the bot that can detect hard-coded strings in the app, and it's super fast, super reliable,
Hmm.
and run it on massive code bases at a fraction of a seconds or in few seconds. You can detect all the hard-coded strings, and then you can do the same thing for detecting placeholders and syntaxes, whether they're standard or not, different TMS systems that you're using, uh, you know. So you can use it for a variety of use cases, but once you have this bot, you can share it with your colleagues or you can share it with the world. We have the concept of CodeMod registry where everyone can build these bots and share it with others. Yeah, so um, code mods are like some specialized AI developers or AI contractors that you can hire when you go here for some specific tasks that you have.
And just curious, like, not as if I'm going to understand your answer, anyways, but how does it do this? Is it leveraging AI to do this? Is that what
Yeah.
makes this different?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There are different ways that in our platform we use AI. One way is to use AI to build these tried and true programs. So instead of changing something in the code directly or detecting something in the code directly with LLM, we use LLM to build a bot, and that bot can do it really well at scale.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. And this is super interesting to me because this is what I've been talking about recently with, people are starting to understand what AI is and what it isn't.
Mhm.
And we're starting to see all of these creative ways of implementing it rather than just thinking, I'm going to use AI to detect potential bugs. It's actually, no, I'm going to use AI to develop a bot to create. You see what I'm saying? It's like that
Absolutely.
nuanced difference there, and it ends up working so much more efficiently. And I'm guessing
Much.
that's how you can. That's why it's so quick. Because one thing AI isn't, it's not fast.
It's not fast, it's expensive,
Right.
and nature of these or these, for example, bug detection and all is an iterative process. You build something, you find some edge cases, you might want to improve things. If you can't wait for LLM to go into the wild and for one day later or hours later come back with a bunch of hallucinations or some mistakes. And then again, you need to make some changes and wait for a long time to see the impact. And the problem is, it's in the nature of LLM to be non-deterministic.
Mhm.
So you can't rely. When you build Codemod, if you run it 100 times, you're going to get the same result, every single time, but not with AI. So these are some of the, differentiations that we have, and we just want to use the right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
No jumping on the AI hype and creating shiny demos, in for small and demo projects, but something that we know that it works. We've seen it. It saves, um, up to 10% of all PRs at Facebook, is created by Codemod service.
Oh.
That's automating thousands of engineers continuously evolving their massive code base, you know. And when I talk to my ex-Facebooker colleagues in different companies, they immediately say, "What?" Some people said this is the best part of working at Meta, and we're so glad that someone is making it accessible to everyone. So we hope that this technology is adopted by more and more companies.
Well, and the technology is, I think there's a more general lesson to be learned here and that can be applied elsewhere, which is, yes, you can use this for detecting issues with code and fixing code as well. Internationalization, of course, is a key part of that. But you could apply these same principles to also to linguistic QA for my localization colleagues out there, right? I worked on so many projects where we would develop from scratch. It was a very manual process. Develop from scratch automated checkers. Think like spell checker is
Mm.
obviously, it's an automated check for localization. But there's all sorts of different checkers out there checking for anything from grammatical issues to gender to encoding to even to like geopolitical issues. Wanting to make sure that we didn't translate something in one language that's politically offensive or culturally insensitive, right? And up until recently, up until this conversation, frankly, I've been thinking, well, AI, using large language models would be a good way to check for issues like that. Let's use the geopolitical issues. It'd be a good way to check the code, the strings, the content for potentially sensitive geopolitical things in it. But now after this conversation, I'm just thinking, well, maybe I'm approaching that wrong. Maybe AI is a good use to develop a tool to check for that.
Totally.
Because it's not going to be efficient to be running AI checks on every single string. It's
Absolutely.
going to be too expensive. It's going to be too time consuming.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that's important in developing such kind of tools and automation is to separate safe cases with tricky ones.
Okay.
If you build a tool, like for example, when we want to build a code mods, we always share this best practice that let's take care of 70-80% of the, for example, the migration or the detection for cases that are super safe and simple,
Mm-hmm.
not touch the other 20-30%, because if you touch those, you're gonna mess up things, and that ruins the trust of the user for the tool. And then for the long tail, you can use AI, you can use other manual processes that you have, you know, and that's kind of the right way to do it. In your example for the QA, you might say, hey, these are some use cases that traditional deterministic approaches can uh, generate result very fast. So you don't need to throw them at LLM to do the work. You
Mm.
already have a tool. Just use that. And for the tricky parts, sure, you can use AI. And of course, in our system, we're build it, we're making it future proof in such a way that we have built a workflow engine where you can have different primitives. Some of the primitives could be code mods, which are deterministic,
Hmm.
but some other primitives could be LLM. So, um,
So you get the
uh,
true
yeah,
hybrid solution, leveraging the best of both worlds. And I like that because, you know, I've said that a lot. If you can, 80% of your stuff is able to be automated. You don't need to automate everything. That's an unrealistic goal in
absolutely.
any situation.
Yeah.
If 80% can be automated, automate that, and that way you can focus on that 20%. And then it's like, well, if we can't automate it, how can we optimize it?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yes.
now what we're introducing to this conversation, to automate or not to automate, it used to be, do I automate? You just automate and human, right? And now
Mhm.
we're kind of bifurcating that automate section into deterministic and AI, right?
That's
So it's like
that's right.
we still have human, and you can even bifurcate the humans into specialized and
Mhm.
non-specialized, right? If you
Sure.
wanted to.
Yeah.
So you have human, and then, all right, what can we automate? And then the question is, of that automation, what requires an AI solution, and what can we just use deterministic engines for? And then how can we use AI to develop those engines?
Totally. Yeah, that's I think the right way to do approach things. Um, so I want to share something about the code mod because any automation is kind of like find and replace. You detect something and you do something about it, you know. And code mod is like the same thing.
Okay.
We designed our system in such a way that where these bots will detect some patterns or anti-patterns in the code base, we can use that data to generate insight that never existed before. At
Hmm.
least to the best of our knowledge, we haven't seen anything like that. So
Yeah,
if you show,
I've seen this term on your website, boardroom ready.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Tell me about that because especially for, I don't have a master's degree in engineering and I didn't work for Meta for 7 years. So I like boardroom ready because
Sure.
another way of saying boardroom ready is dumb down.
So I would say business aligned insights. So, you
Business.
know,
Okay. Well, see, that's the difference between a master's degree and a dropout.
we want to uh, finding hard-coded strings in the code. This is like a technical thing, right? But as a leader, either localization leader or business leaders, you want to know what is the return on investment on
Right.
localization. Why should we go here? How long would it take? How much would it cost? Where should we invest? Which teams are falling behind? Which ones not? These are the type of questions that we want to answer, but it requires knowledge about what is going on in the code. That's the reality.
Okay.
That's the truth. You need to deal with that, you know. So these bots will go and extract that raw knowledge, but what do you want to do with that raw knowledge, you know? And that's what we have CodeMod Insights. Um,
All right.
I
Let me
would
pull up your screen here. All right.
Yeah, so our platform has different features, and to the core of all of those features are these bots and code mods. So you see a dashboard here with 9 widgets, and this is a real dashboard for open source project. It's a commercial project called cal.com. And um, you see 9 widgets in this dashboard, right? And we can have different kinds of widgets. It can be time series, it can be an aggregated formula, or it can be a tabular format.
Mm-hmm.
The 9 widgets that you see here, even though they're showing different information, they're powered by the same bot that can detect hard-coded strings in the app.
Hmm.
How long would it take? How much would it cost? What is the status of the hard-coded strings for each team? You know, and how many hard-coded strings each team have? And all of these are powered by the same bot. Now, how does that work? Here, you will see that we have a section called rule. You remember that we built that bot in the studio? You can bring it here and you can point it to a specific app or repository that you have. And we automatically detect code owners and different teams, and then you can visualize that. So you can see what is the status of the hard-coded strings, and this bot is going to evaluate different versions of your code base over time, so you can see the trends.
Okay.
So for example, in this case, the goal is to bring these hard-coded strings to zero, because you don't want to have hard-coded strings, you want to have translation keys. And you can see which teams are falling behind, which teams require more support. And then you have a section for aggregated formula where you can come up with any custom formula that you have. For example, you can say, hey, every two hardcode strings that we have is going to take 1 hour of engineering time to detect these patterns, to replace it, to test it, to create a PR, to create a task, and things like that. And then you say, okay, if that's the case, we're gonna spend this many weeks to do that. So if you're a localization manager and the business leaders are asking you that we're going to launch in, for example, 60 weeks, you
Mm-hmm.
can go back right at the get-go and say, hey, even the internationalization of the code base is going to take 65% weeks. How is it possible that we can make that happen?
Right.
So we can have this conversation from day one, not once you get towards the end and everyone is so stressed, you know. And you can build different, you can ask our experts to build different bots for different use cases. Any questions that you have from your engineering team, for example, what are some of the anti-patterns? You want to do, for example, TMS migration. How many parts in our code is using the old TMS versus the new one?
Mm.
You know that we might be seeing these AI native TMS systems which are designed from ground up around AI,
Yeah.
not the old ones that are some AI is bolted on forcefully, but
Yeah,
migrating
that's a whole
from that.
nother podcast right there. Is like what
Yeah,
technology is going to change? Because right now people are still talking about how can I, as you put it, bolt on AI to my
yeah,
existing solutions. And the solutions, the household names 10 years from now, they're going to be AI native
yeah,
companies that were
yeah,
built from the ground up. And they're going to
yeah.
have an inherent advantage because of that.
Yeah, and TMS migration, I talk to people, and I've also listened to your previous podcast. That's a big pain. It
Oh, yeah.
takes months. It's daunting, for companies and clients to consider that. But wouldn't it be cool if there were bots? Like, for example, there's this old TMS and this new TMS.
Hmm.
One company goes through this painful process, migration process. Wouldn't it be cool if you could codify all the steps that they've gone through into these code mods and bots and share it with the world? So everyone else who wants to do this migration, they do it much faster and cheaper.
And that's a good use case. It's a good argument for TMS companies out there. I mean, client side too, if you want to manage that yourself. But if I had a TMS company solution, or if I was a salesperson, whatever, at a TMS company, a really interesting story for me to be telling my prospects and my clients is, look, we make that migration seamless, because a big reason why my prospects are telling me no is because even if they don't like their current TMS, they don't want to go through the migration. They don't want to change it, right? Because
Absolutely.
it's so painful. And I have, in a previous life prior to Nimdzi, I've used this sales tactic before
Mhm.
where it was, look, here is a 12-step plan for migrating away from your shitty TMS world
Yeah,
server. Sorry. But I'm sorry, it was always world server. People had these decades old implementation of world server, and they duct taped, so bolted on, to use your terminology, they bolted on so many things to it, it was impossible to get out of it. right?
Yeah.
So if we can
Well,
leverage AI to help make that seamless or at least less painful, then
mhm,
that's a big bonus.
totally. Yeah. Um, uh, I have some yeah case study up here for one of our customers, a French company. They wanted to put 7 engineers for 9 months to go through this painful migration experience and for making their code base internationalization ready as they wanted to expand to new European markets. We did it with 2x faster, which is like months faster going to market
Hmm.
at a fraction of the cost and the engineering resources. So their engineers could focus on building new features, not going and doing some boring tasks of hardcore strings. And this means that localization managers can s- get get started on their work and deliver things months faster. And of course, because there is these automations, there's consistency across the code base. There are not different teams using different standards, and
Hmm.
bugs will come up towards the end of the process. And it's so hard to get a hold of those engineers again to fix those problems, you know? So,
Well, and to that point, I feel that localization departments in companies, they are oftentimes one of the few, if not the only department that interacts with all of the other departments.
so
Maybe not all of the other departments,
like,
right? But
yeah, it's a definitely cross-functional uh,
right.
team.
And because
Yeah.
of that, the localization departments have access to insights, aggregated insights that the other teams individually don't have access to, right?
Mhm.
So they
Yeah,
can spot areas for improvement, areas for optimization. For
totally.
example, you can use a simplified structure of okay, there's a localization department and they're servicing the product team, the marketing team, and the legal team, and the HR team, right? But sometimes there's 15 different product teams,
Hmm.
right? And they're all using different tools. They're using different code. They different little idiosyncrasy, whatever the word is, for their code, differences
Yeah,
in the code, and that's a big problem for the localization team because they have to develop a solution that works for all of those guys. Those
absolutely.
product teams don't even realize that their code is different from the other ones,
Yep.
so they're missing out on an opportunity to optimize their code company wide
Yeah.
with a tool like this. Well, a tool like this will make it easier. Localization departments can actually be that source of insights because they have access to everything and they can say, look, if we undergo this initiative to standardize code across the entire company or whatever it might be, then it's going to save us X number of dollars. Check the dashboard.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other value that the see for TMS providers is that sometimes clients will reach out to them and say, hey, we're ready to go to global markets, but they don't know that their code base is months behind.
Yeah.
They can even start the partnership with them.
Yeah.
So,
No,
uh,
I'm talking to a client like that right now, and they're right at that point where they've realized, like, oh shit, we're not ready, right? And it's like, yeah, sorry.
and it will kill the deals, so because it takes months. So you're so close to just signing the deal, get started working, and then engineering team said, come back in 6 months, and by that time, you know, uh, so many things have changed. So we hope that we can make it 10x faster and cheaper for companies to go global with it, you know. We said,
Well, and the product's awesome. Like I just as we're having this conversation, and I talked to you last week too, so I've been thinking about it for the last week.
yeah,
I just get excited about all the obvious potential or obvious use cases for this,
yeah,
as well as like the not so obvious use cases for this. So I get excited about the product, but you're also doing a lot of work around building communities,
yeah,
stuff like. Let's shift the conversation. I want to talk a little bit more about that, about creating these communities, creating these online spaces. I know you're running some research that we,
yeah,
we want to talk
sure.
about. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So there is one concept of community, which is more general and beyond just localization. We are contributors to some of the most popular frameworks in the world, like React, Node.js, Webpack, React Router, and more. These are some popular technologies that almost all companies use. And when developers go to the official upgrade guide, they see our free open source tools and they can run some bots and code mods to upgrade their code. So that's one concept. And it's been years in making of relationships. Very, very kind of time consuming, but we think that we believe that such kind of a thing should exist.
Mm,
And I really believe in community-driven innovation.
mm,
We want to use the collective intelligence of the developers and humanity to push the technology forward. You know, imagine, for example, some internationalization library like Lingui.js or I18 Next. These are some toolkits that developer use to internationalize the code base. They come up with new versions. Wouldn't it be cool that the moment that they come up with a new version with much performant features, everyone in the world instantly can use it?
mm.
You know, some developers somewhere in the world can go and build these bots and put it into the registry, and big enterprises can easily utilize that technology. So that's kind of the one part, and on the second part, we are running a survey in collaboration with other TMS providers, and this is still work in progress. So if any TMS provider or any vendor listening to this podcast, if they're interested in partnership, they can just reach out to me. We are coming up with a survey to uh, to get to get insights to understand what are some of the pain on the ground for localization managers on the client side on their day-to-day life, which guides not just us, but any other technology builders and vendors to build the right tool,
Right.
because it's really hard. There's so much AI hype, and we want to have a pragmatic approach. So we're designing this survey with the help of experts and of course, folks like you who helped me a lot, and I'm very appreciative. And I think it's going to be a great one, especially that we're getting close to log 454.
Hmm.
And it's a great time for us to share the preliminary results during the conference. And I hope that everyone gains some benefit from this survey. We intentionally made it a cross-vendor collaboration to make sure that it's not biased.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right, right.
We don't want to kind of bias it. We just want to generate some useful insights for the whole localization community.
Yeah, and I'm always a big proponent of industry research. Obviously, right? Like I work at Nimdzi Insights. Our job
Sure.
is to do industry
Yeah.
research, right? So
Yeah.
obviously, but even just going beyond Nimdzi research, I love it. I love it when I see other companies doing their own research. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, I wish companies would hire me and pay Nimdzi Insights to do research for them, but you
Mhm.
don't have to. Is the thing, right? Companies that are doing their own research or individuals that are doing their research, because once that information is out there, it's going to help everybody make better
So
decisions, right?
absolutely.
And going
Yeah.
back to the community aspect
Yeah.
that you're talking about, a rising tide raises all ships, as they say.
Yeah. For sure.
So, yeah, so people out there, be on the lookout for that. A survey coming out. There's partnership opportunities. If there's organizations that want to help sponsor, either by developing the survey or contributing in other ways,
Yeah.
I can recommend that out there. And you're going to be at Local, and you're going to be in the Process Innovation Challenge, correct?
Yeah. I participated in the preliminary session on Tuesday. We hope we get
Fingers
accepted, but
crossed.
no, what? Yeah.
All right.
Uh, what we're here to spread the word and be helpful to the localization community.
Nice. Yeah, that's always a good. So, if you're out there, you're going to Local World, make sure to talk to
Yeah,
Alex there. I'm hoping to see
sure.
you in the Process
Yeah,
Innovation Challenge.
Sure.
Any other thoughts? Anything that we haven't gone over yet today before we close out here, Alex?
Um,
Oh, we covered a lot today.
yeah, we covered a lot, and I can share one of the lessons that I've learned about.
Yeah, let's do that. Bring it on home because that'll tie it
Yeah,
into a nice
yeah.
ending here.
So one of the lessons that I've learned in developing AI native solutions is the concept of awareness for the AI about its capabilities. Uh, because when AI has awareness about what are some of the things it can or it cannot do, um, it can create a delightful user experience where humans are in the loop and they can um, delegate the tasks and trust that AI will only take care of the things that's really good at. It's very unlikely that they get it wrong, and if there are certain things that it cannot do well, it just hand it over to human to take care of it. And of course, over time, AI capabilities become better and better,
Hmm.
and humans can delegate more and more tedious work and focus on other high value tasks to perform. So this is something that's generic. It's not just for Codemod. I think there are other technology builders and in TMS providers that might, find value in this lesson.
It's a great lesson, and it kind of goes back to what I've been saying: the evolution of the hype over the
Yeah,
last few years. Is I
yeah,
feel we have a much better idea now what AI does well and what it doesn't do well.
yeah,
And if you're going to use a technology, make sure you know what you want it to do and is this the
yeah.
right technology for the job. And
Mhm.
frankly, that's a good lesson. Not take technology out of the conversation. It's a good lesson in general. I tell people,
Absolutely.
employees, team members, colleagues, anyone that I'm talking to, I tell you need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. You need to know what you do well and
Yeah,
what you don't do so well. And you need to be honest about that. And if you know what you do well, then it's not arrogant to recognize that and say, this is what I do well and focus on that. If you know what you don't do well, you can either A, work on improving it, or B, surround yourself with people that do that well.
absolutely.
Right?
That
You don't need to be the answer to everything. Just like one
exactly.
solution, one technology doesn't need to be the answer to everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think that's
I think that's a great note to end on, sir. Thank you so much for coming back. You are now officially a two-time Nimdzi Live guest because last week it didn't go so well, so
yeah,
it might
it
have
was very
lasted five
fun,
minutes.
and I hope that we can do it together in the future as well
Yeah,
for other
I hope to
topics.
see you at Loc World.
Yeah,
I'm
for
hoping to get
sure.
down there myself in Monterey and see everybody, and I'll hunt you down while I'm down there. So,
All right.
thank you,
Look,
Alex. I will take us out here, ladies, gentlemen, chat. If you enjoyed this Nimdzi Live experience, then join us live next week when we got a whole bunch of stuff. We're talking to Nimdzi's own Yulia Kulkova about the Language Technology Radar Report. It's one of our flagship reports, cataloging all of the different technologies available in our space. It's beautiful. I feel so blessed to be able to talk to her. So go over to our LinkedIn page and make sure that you are signed up so that you get notified when that live stream starts. Yeah, I appreciate our guests today, Alex. I appreciate my colleagues here at Nimdzi Insights doing all the hard work so I can have these interesting conversations. And finally, I appreciate you, the audience, whether you're joining us live today or watching the recording or listening to the podcast. And I look forward to next time. Cheers.